Hello everyone, this is
Hello,
DJ,
this is Marco.
And Michał.
and this is CG Talks, the podcast where CG guys talk about CG. And today we are going to talk about things on the outskirts of CG in general, so things that are kind of on the edge of what you find pleasing to watch.
Yeah,
Fringes.
very different levels of innovation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you may say fringes, but also you can say avant-garde or cutting edge
Or just outsider,
experimental.
outsider CG.
Yeah, I mean,
creepy, weird, eerie stuff.
but by the way, I don't think like there's no like real fringe, because guys who are doing their art this way may say that they are not fringe, they are the center of what's happening in CG, for example. But fringe from the point of view, if let's say you are going to watch the gallery on CG Society and you have all these monster scars and argvis and whatever
Things that are not mainstream.
Yeah. Kind of maybe not. Yeah, non-mainstream aesthetics, basically.
That's the mainstream or non-mainstream stuff. That's kind of sometimes shifting because if you take people, for example, like this is like a little bit on the edge of what most people find like being art, but you can say that this is really, this is mainstream right now. Like seeing from how well he sold on the crypto art market.
For sure, from in general the art world, it's art. There's no reason to call it in any other way or place it on the fringe. But CG world has its kind of like a territory, and from that point of view, in this
seeing from a perspective of a regular studio worker that's working for, I don't know, Archviz company or just animation company, VFX that you do for mainstream movies or whatever.
Although it is weird because I came across one guy. Oh my, I think I might have closed the tab. I didn't really look. I didn't really save the video, but I had a tab open a while ago, and I lost it. But basically, he kind of does something similar. It's like a studio run by two brothers, and they do something along the lines of what Esteban Diacono does. We'll be leaving links to some of the
so guys,
finds,
prepare your digital notebooks, because there's a lot of stuff to watch and enjoy.
So treat this podcast as a primer, and then after you can ingest your favorite, I don't know, substance, and then enjoy the list of links. But
so Esteban
Diacono, basically he works a lot with like the human body. I mean, I think it's a common thing in 3D, but like it's sort of that kind of thing, like the human body, just like lots of bodies doing weird things. But anyway, these guys, they do something along those lines, but like they actually start they get commissioned by Nike or other big brands to do videos on social media for them.
Also from the point of view of CG, you may say, well, this is where CG shows its strength, what you can actually do only in CG, and showing in a realistic way some unrealistic stuff, and creating all this impression.
Because
it's almost like
because sometimes doing this kind of weird animations or strange stuff, it's not kind of a new thing. If you take a look at the Monty Python's Flying Circus, for example, you could see those cutout animations and stuff. They were pretty much in line with what we're going to talk about today, just using more traditional art
Yeah.
techniques. And
I
right
think
now
the
you
thing
just have you just have this skill set of making this as believable as possible, right? This whole.
But I think that's
surrealist-
strangely enough, that's sort of the strength of like 3D art of this 3D content of this nature, because um we all know that it's very like the uncanny valley is like especially, like it's like you can kind of like you can try to make a like uncanny valley doesn't exist as much in 2D mediums as much as it does in 3D, right? And for a lot of these like creators, it feels like they're really trying to embrace it. Like they really try to embrace the fact that
instead of avoiding this valley, they just go
like, why
straight
not?
deep into that
Yeah.
Why
ditch.
not?
Right?
Yeah,
because
that's what.
actually this is like, for example, the cool 3D world, the realistic shaders in terms of reflection, subsurface scattering, realistic shaders in general, and lighting, and you have all this realistic stuff, but you can create something that is completely unreal. That gives this feeling of weirdness, and this is you really can create something of like this is some kind of nightmare or some kind of drug trip, or
a really bad
I had
psychedelic.
I had the impression watching of some of this stuff. It reminds me a state I was in when I had a very high fever, and it's like maybe there's some part of the hallucination to it, but there's like you cannot really stand this feeling that you are kind of irritated, and it's I don't know how to call it for a better word,
like a delirium.
Something like that. So yeah, you can do this with that. I really think that David Lynch, maybe if he was born 20 years later or 30 years later, then he would be very happy with all these tools, because
yeah.
So,
that's true.
For the world.
But actually,
that cool 3D world has to had to come up, this name, because this is like, at least on YouTube, this is probably one of the first thing you come up with when you search for weird animations or edge stuff.
The funny thing is, it's like a lot of it, like because like at least a lot of the stuff I found revolve around like almost everything that I found except one revolve around bodies. Like I don't know if it's because they use like character generators to make it easier. I wonder why the theme is always like the human body. It's either a limitation, like they're working with a limitation, or they're working with like the most available resources they have, or they really are celebrating, because like that's where Uncanny Valley is, right? Like
and I'm thinking that's
the peak of,
like for us humans, that's one of the most relatable topics in general. If you take a look at art, most of human art revolves around human
people. That's true.
Human stuff, right?
Yeah.
And body was
That's
always
true.
like interesting for people to explore.
Yeah, it's if you want to like invoke some very deep physical feelings, like repulsion and similar feelings like creepiness or the cringe. So these are emotions.
Emotions
very
that
physical.
If you took a look at Disney's movie, the Inside Out, right? They were kind of like just a few basic emotions that came into play. One of them was this
disgust.
Disgust, right?
Yeah,
disgust, and that's probably one of the most evoked by this
that's
type
true.
of art.
I mean, like Japanese body horror, right? Like Japanese horror. A lot of Japanese horror is body horror. It always involves like some and like some being like super contorted, something like freakish with to do, that had to do with like anatomy in some way.
And
right?
you know what, I think this is also by the way, I think this is interesting digression because the horror is always about some kind of aggression and fear, and aggression is crossing the boundary. And in Japanese movies, it's a little different because this is a different culture. For example, for me, that I was grown in my Polish culture, then watched a lot of American horrors, but the Japanese are different and the Korean ones. And I remember my brother bought a book with Japanese stories, and I can tell you one of these stories because it's frightening, but it's frightening in a very different way than like, let's say, I somehow have a feeling that this is a Japanese horror story. So basically, there's a story that there was a guy who met a witch in the woods, and the witch wanted to kill him, and he begged for his life, and finally the witch said, "Okay, I'm not going to kill you, but only under the condition that you will never tell the story that you met me to anyone." And he agreed. So she left him. She set him free. And years passed, and this guy just forgot about it. He got married. He had kids, and at some point he was like lying in bed with his wife and thinking about something, and she asked, "What are you thinking about?" And he said, "I'm thinking about something that happened in my life a long time ago." And what was it? And he said he didn't want to tell that, but finally said, "Okay, was so long time ago that he barely believes that it was real." So he said, "Yeah, I met that witch in the woods," and he told that story that she wouldn't kill him only if he won't tell that story to anyone, and that his wife in that moment turned into a witch. It was his wife was the witch all the time. And she said, "Now I'm going to kill you." And I was thinking, okay, this is that kind of like, I don't know how to call it. Like, this is creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And terrifying, but in a little different way than let's say American stories, or let's say in Poland we have some horror stories with monsters or witches, but they are
Something
scary in a
else.
different way.
Yeah.
This is like kind of sneaky. Somebody's in a sneaky way got into your life with like eating you from inside out. I don't know how to call it.
Like
So,
fear ninjas. I don't know.
What did you say? What word?
No, they're like fear ninjas.
Fear ninjas? Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
So-
like that level of, underhanded. Like there's something deeply like psychological about it also. But yeah, like I mean that's for sure like there's I really think that like that's one thing, like the body horror aspect that kind of makes some of these animations work in a way. And also one thing that one thing that I discovered early on in my life, like before I necessarily was doing anything like CG, was outsider art. Like, are you familiar with that genre?
Outsider art?
Yeah, outsider art. Basically, it kind of looks a lot like folk art in a way, or naive art, meaning it usually doesn't showcase a lot of technical skill. But they're usually like these unsettling. It's like looking at for the most part, it's like looking at like a child's drawing, but through the lens of like an adult. So it's like all of these like violent lines and these shapes and these patterns, but like expressing subject matter that isn't also innocent. You know how like sometimes like kids,
but with a childish,
yeah, most of the time, yeah. Like you know how sometimes if you might see a kid's drawing that like they try to draw like their uncle or whatever, and then but like the way they do it looks kind of I mean, if you just looked at like the drawing, it would look like that person. You would not want to walk into you wouldn't want to like meet that person in the middle of the street at night. You know, like some if you saw
Yeah.
that person like it just or see it in a basement, framed in a basement, like in a dark basement, like you go into a house, you open like you walk into the basement and then you open the light or you shine your flashlight on a kid's drawing of like a person like that. It can be really unsettling sometimes.
Mhm.
So it's like it's kind of outside art. A lot of it is like sort of like that, but intentionally unsettling. And also
Mhm.
it like it either looks like children's drawings or like folk art, like art that you would see sort of flat shapes, lots of patterns. If you've ever seen like any of the like the Latin American art, like folk
Yeah,
art,
just
like very
just
lots of curves and flat shapes, and but also yeah, it's interesting. Like it's an interesting, like all encompass, like a very wide it's like how indie music is not necessarily a genre, but it became a genre, but it's supposed to mean everything that isn't one thing or the other, right? So
Mhm.
in a way, this is like what it is also. Like there are many different aspects, I guess, of or like faces of outsider art,
I can
but
no, I'm just going through images on in
oh cool,
Google,
yeah.
and they have, yeah, as you said, this quality of they're unsettling, and they are like, I don't know, um obnoxious, or like this hard to really stand them.
Yeah, yeah.
At the same as this like cool 3D world stuff with the uncanny valley value uncanny valley feature.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
also like that, like yeah, there's too much to handle.
I think
Yeah.
I think
But
what
it's also like
you said that you watched this kind of art like before even you even got into like 3D and stuff as your art kind of way of thinking.
yeah.
I'm just thinking about, we are talking about a wide variety of weird or not so obvious arts. Some people wouldn't even call, what 3D cool 3D world does, for example, they wouldn't call it art, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm thinking, is it or how much it can be inspiring for someone young and upcoming, to want to pursue this kind of a path, or
Oh, well, I can
to what
say that
level?
I
Because
mean
because
I enjoyed it, but it never like it never made me feel like, oh damn, like this is exactly what I want to
yeah, because
do.
because what I wanted to say is like these horror things like that you mentioned, like the body, the whole genre of gore, horror movies, like for example, like Peter Jackson that directed later on the Lord of the Rings. Like one of his most famous movies was this genre, right? Like the Brain Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that was developing human body and inside out, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he must have been inspired by these kind of things, like to pursue a movie path that led him to think that is like purely mainstream right now, right? Like,
Yeah. No, but like there are like I think it also affected like his I don't know. I mean like Lord of the Rings, for example. Like it's like there were many fantasy movies that were made at around that time, but there was something about his treatment of it that made it unique. Like that the very first opening sequence in the movie,
mhm.
it's very, it's like there's something about it that like there are really nice like he does these like I think I'm gonna have to watch the intro again, but I remember seeing a lot of like like that he made a lot of interesting choices. Like he'd have these very jarring like sharp cuts of like Galadriel's face or something, like it was there. Like there was this element of, there was something about it that wasn't glossy. Like there was something about it that was kind of unsettling in a
the thing
way.
that he techniques that he used to depict orcs and all the
Yeah. But also
horror
in
stuff
his,
in the movie.
yeah, but also in
But
his cinematography, like very in subtle ways. Like, and I feel like uh like the this weird CG stuff and outsider art in general, like it does have value. Like it really does kind of allow you to, mm, it's, I don't know, like it's like and I'm sorry, like I don't want to like endorse,
Yeah,
like
poor
taking
craft
drugs or
or
anything like that, like, like,
poor craftsmanship, right?
no, yeah, like, but I mean, it's because it's not always, I
I
mean, like
think
you can like look at uh Henry Matisse, right? Like he, at the age of 15, he was making like crazy shit, like photorealistic paintings that, that would have made it to
yes
any,
as well.
to the Louvre, or whatever, like really amazing work. But then as he got older, he developed Fauvinism, right? Which is really just
Mhm.
like a lot of fucking pen scribbles. I don't know. I mean, I don't really like it, but as a but
Yeah, but this
when I
was all
first,
about clashing, right? Stuff
no,
like that,
like
and
his it
inspired
or just
by
like
primitive art and
Fauve, yeah, like coming from Fauve, which basically the etymology behind the term comes from wild animal, yeah. So
yeah, because
Mhm.
it was I think some critic just described the whole
right,
art by that
yeah,
movement
then
as
he,
a Donatello among the wild animals or something like that in the
yeah,
forest.
then he decided to own it. But it's interesting, right? Like, and I think that I've noticed that at least people I know who are who are a little older and are actual like painters, or they all seem to be like, it seems like as you're younger, you you really do tend to kind of look at like towards honing yourself in the craft of it. But then as you get older, like a lot, everybody seems to kind of be loosening up. Like even figurative painters that I like in their older years, like the painting isn't as tight, like the brushwork is a little looser. And I think that that says something, like I think that there's something about like this kind of visual aesthetic that um uh it's just not socially acceptable, and we're all in one way or another programmed to want things that we know will get recognition for in a very, in a deep way. Like, I mean, it's not something anyone can deny, really. But stuff like this is kind of unsettling, but also intriguing, because it can kind of speak to the part of you that isn't really like your subconscious, in a way. I think, like,
Mhm.
that's how I see it. Like, it
Yeah,
has nothing to do with what's socially acceptable or something. It's like,
yeah. Is
it's
the
like
You
is
know what?
the
some
yeah is
Oh,
it's
the
like
sorry.
also
somebody
realm
it's
of
like
experiment?
somebody yeah, it's like you're walking down an alley one day, and then somebody just kind of like walks up to you and asks if you want to join a BDSM party. I mean, what would you do in that situation? Right? It's like it takes a different, I mean, it takes a kind of openness, I guess. Uh
Yeah, but you know what? I was
to
thinking
Yeah.
about this because I think like culturally, what I think this is art because it it communicates and like mm, it invokes the emotions, very specific emotions, and I think this is about it. And
Mhm.
but I was thinking about why people would like to watch this kind of stuff because there are a lot of people who like to watch this kind of stuff, like including me, and it's this is similar to watching horror movies that you can safely experience these emotions like this cringe creepy stuff because normally in life the first thing is that it's completely random when it happens And the second one is that when it happens in your real life, like on the street, whatever, to have this kind of feeling, it's usually dangerous. It's usually not a cool thing. You have to run away from this shit. Like
that's why they call the channel Cool 3D World, because when it happens in your world, it's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because like I can imagine some moments in my life when I had this kind of reaction to, for example, a real person that was suddenly, I don't know, next to me in the bus, and it was very creepy for, I don't know, with no real reason. Just that was the and it was my psyche informing me that there's a real danger, which is not like openly scary like in horror movies or this kind of stuff, but it's more like under the skin, but it's real. So people can watch it in a controlled environment, the same way as people like to go to a carousel, or they like to watch horrors in cinema. They can be scared in a safe way. So that's pleasurable, and also it's kind of, I think, developing, because you can by watching this kind of stuff, in a way you are also learning how to master this kind of that emotional part of me. I had a friend in college, when one of my colleagues, who just couldn't watch this kind of stuff because he was immediately upset, very upset, and he was just basically, okay, turn this off. So he kind of like there was this artist who would create this kind of dolls, I think in 80s. Probably for a longer time, this kind of dolls which were like a little girls welded together. They were very creepy. I mean, they had this kind of this kind of vibe, these dolls as these movies, and he couldn't stand them. And for me it was weird, because I and my other friends, we were just, after the lecture, we would open the internet and look for this stuff to check it. And it's not something I would watch all the time, every day, but it was interesting to watch it and to experience these emotions of uneasiness and maybe repulsion. But then, okay, this is you can kind of like make an experiment on yourself in a safe way. But for example, this guy couldn't. I think he had some problems with, I don't know, maybe it was not. I'm
thinking that it's also that it might also just come down to personal, preferences or personality types. As I've heard like Jordan Peterson described this as people who are more towards hierarchy and stuff, and the other ones are more,
they're more
creative and open to experimentation and stuff like that. So basically, I'm sure that the three of us are more into the open thing, because we're working creatives, and that's just to be expected out of people like that, probably. And it's just natural that people with that kind of mindset just go to creative jobs, right?
Well, we studied architecture. And he was a good, painter and drawer. So I don't know.
That's strange. Or maybe
No, I mean, I guess because it's more of like, you can also be a like if you're talking about like psychometrics, right? You can be I think it's like one trait is being open, right, and another trait is being conscientious. And so for example, you could be a conscientious
and
painter,
that reflects in art, I think, a lot. If you take a look at some artists, they are kind of like very structured, very by the book, and other ones are kind of, oh my god, just looking like a happy experiment accident, right?
And it's a wide spectrum, I think. Like and
probably, it's like with all these metrics, it's just one spectrum, right? And it's kind of crossing with many other
and you can be in between, right? Like because I mean, like, honestly, like who is this? Like, for example, I really enjoy Broko. Like Stan Prokopenko, like the YouTuber
Yeah.
who, like the guy who he also has podcasts, and it's more focused on
Drawing.
on draftsmanship and art.
But
and
this
stuff.
is this is really like academic
He's very
drawing.
yeah, and I appreciate it. I mean, of course, it's like it's really like it's of a different quality, but you can also see in like a lot of the conversations where like between him and, let's say, his partner Marshall Vandroff. I think Marshall is a little more of the open type, and and Stan Prokopenko is more of the conscientious type, because he's very he pays a lot, like he's very strict about at least in his own work, right? About He's very strict about technique and how precise you are with in depicting like the way light acts on form. Like they go into the mathematics of like the of proper light fall off, like how light loses power at certain angles, and all of these little, all of like the science behind it. But then they also but then they also sometimes go into like the more expressive things, but mainly the channel is kind of oriented towards technique. And you can see that, I mean, I kind of tend to think that you could be like, you can choose to to move towards some, like you can choose to kind of be able to create the illusion of form, but not necessarily be that strict either, right? Like you don't need to be, it's like you don't need to be scribbles and cutouts level, like you don't have to be like a super non-technical punk rock uh like philosophy artist. And you also don't necessarily have to be the super like everything by the book, or like really having it down to a science. Like you could be somewhere in the middle too, right? I mean, like you can also make outsider art that looks a little more mature in terms of technique used. And there are a lot actually also
I'm
that
thinking
show
like this
form and
maturing.
light.
That's an interesting topic, like maturing of style in this kind of genre. Because if you take a look at Cool 3D World, it's also like different levels of I'd say craftsmanship in all those videos. But I wanted to bring up another artist that I kind of dug out of my memory, that I came across a few years ago, and he's called Syriac. He has a quite big YouTube channel, and he was doing like crazy creepy animations. I think it's in After Effects or something like that. Just like blending animations of
even has
parts of
tutorials,
parts of human body, animals, or stuff. The first one I saw was cows, and cows. And it just showed just cows on the field, just moving to some crazy techno trance music. And the music is interesting in that it's kind of like very well fitting into the style. I think he's also doing it by himself, but it's like it's a very simple techno with some strange harmonies that are probably a little bit like random, I believe, or just on purpose. They are kind of using tritones or different stuff just to make things sound creepy and a little bit like and it's like I love how he develops the tension in the video, that it starts with something simple and then just develops into big constructions of like these cows becoming, I don't know, long-legged spiders or whatever, just or turning into some monsters, like and that was his stuff earlier. And I've recently because of this episode that we were preparing, I just watched his later work that he's been doing recently, and he did like full-fledged videos for artists. One cool that I saw was the existential threat. I think it was about this kind of like hard emotions, feelings that you might experience, and it was so perfectly fitting into the subject of the song. And generally this subject, and even the visuals, they were so much more refined than a few years ago when I saw the first ones from him. So I'm thinking that what was seemingly just like a crazy fun thing by some graphic designer, like an experiment in a sketchbook, so to speak, for a videographer. It turned out to be a full-fledged artistic language in terms of this later work. So it can also like find its ways from the creepy, edgy stuff to just honing it and nailing it.
Well, yeah, but I think also it's like for me it seems like you can, like, just because you refine, like, you can still make like something weird, or like, I don't think necessarily that making things that are kind of weird or zany are necessarily is necessarily like a lower level, or like something that you evolve from. I think that a lot of there are a lot of people also who are able to take it to a like an impressive level of technicality, but still be really weird. And one of at least for like one of my gem finds, like as like CG, in terms of CG content creators, is Oleg Vdovenko. Sorry, I mean, I don't know I wouldn't know how to pronounce it, but it's Vdovenko, and his moniker is
Vdovenko. I think
Vdovenko. Yeah,
pretty much nailed the name.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and his name is, and his Instagram or ArtStation tag is Chuvabak. And like, his animations are really good. I don't know if he's using like his own assets, or but he actually released like a Kit Bash pack also. So he's got chops as a 3D artist and as a developer. But the stuff that he makes is just, it's super weird. Like 15 second like high quality CG, but like situations that are just like, you have no idea what's going on. And his characters are insane. But yeah, like really, and I think that this is someone with like who knows how to compose shots, knows how to like design characters and work textures. And I mean, he seems very technically competent, but he's also he's really like just letting it loose, and letting the freak flag fly. Like I think I heard Andrew Price say that once, but that's a good phrase. Just gotta let your freak flag fly.
I wouldn't say that, for example, Cool 3D World is technically wrong or not developed, because this is like it's delivering what it's supposed to deliver or not. And if it does, then there is nothing more needed. Like, there's no point of using any kind of technique or skill which is not helping that kind of vibe, like delivering this whatever it's delivering, like the feeling of weirdness or detachment or whatever. Like, this is some kind of nightmare. So I think in this case, in this way, it's a very good art, because it does its job. I can get what it is about, and also it works very well. And also, maybe the only thing that I would say that it would be developed in this case would be, for example, to many artists start from these short movies, and finally they are able to shot for example, full feature movie with this kind of with this kind of way of thinking, and that they can handle a very big project with, for example, with some story, and not always it's possible. But so for me, it's for example, I've heard some kind of like a comparison on working on some projects. Like, for example, there's this American football match, and the guy has a ball, and he's just running through the field, and there's a lot of shit happening all around, like complete chaos. But finally, it's his job to not look around what's happening, and this is not important. The only important thing is that he carried that ball to that final field, right? And he scores a point. So I think in this way of thinking, like, School 3 World is exactly like that. It carried the message, like, the emotional message, everything to that point at the end, and the rest is not important. So really, if it's going to be more technically this way or another, only you can say that it could be better if you use some techniques to make this feeling more refined or stronger, stuff like that. So I, for example, like when in my city there's a festival of some animations, and also festival of amateur movies, like independent amateur movies, and they are mostly short movies. So when you watch a lot of these, like one after another on this festival, the ones which are defending themselves are not the ones which are technically have the highest production value. They are the ones who actually tell you some kind of story, and they are able to tell this story, and you have some reaction, understanding of it. And this is the most important thing. Then the rest is like refining your language to make it, better, like more precise, or strike the right chords. But so finally, I think these guys are not making any kind of like a compromise. Maybe they don't have a time, or they have a big team, because if they had, maybe they would create something bigger and whatever.
Yeah. Or
But
maybe
in
they
terms
just
of-
exactly want
I
to
buy
do.
it. I buy it the way it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's it. I don't think
Yeah.
it's
Because honestly,
who
like this guy, like I wish I could come up with like ideas for like this far out for like 8 to 10 seconders, instead of, because in a way it's also really hard to create something compelling in such a short amount of time,
yeah.
right? Like you like sometimes like
Yeah,
It-
the length of a form is not necessarily the.
but I get what you mean,
Difficulty
though,
level,
Mihao.
yeah.
Like I get what he means about like being able to expand like an idea if you wanted to, like it's important, like being able to be elaborate with an idea but also concise, depending on what the situation calls for, right?
But by the way, these videos about the body, this kind of strange things. What is the name of this guy? Esteban
Esteban Diacono.
Diacono. So
And
you know
there
what?
are also
I was watching that, and I was thinking that when this kind of stuff will kind of like get into the mainstream of filmmaking, because for example, it kind of reminds me the times of Matrix. So basically, Matrix was created like this first Matrix movie. Technically, it was possible to do it earlier, but somebody like Wachowski brothers had this vision and this kind of idea of using this technology to give this kind of vision, and it was possible earlier, but the evolution was kind of like extensive. So it was like, we are going more dinosaurs, we are going more monsters, more of the same stuff, and they come up with the idea, well, we don't have to give more, we can just flip it and do something completely different, like intensive, so with the same technology. And it's like, and then in the second parts they just multiplied it, because there were more of this space of this robots.
It's hard to do the revolution twice, right?
Yeah, so I was thinking
Yeah.
that when this kind of so you can show like monsters, spaceships, some gore, whatever, but when I'm looking at these videos, when there are going to be movies which are using this kind of shit, like the closest thing that it's kind of this way, but not really, would be, for example, the Inception. So and soon there's going to be a I don't know if this is the correct word, equalization. No, screen. The book Ubik by Philip Dick is going to become a movie, and the director is Michel Gondry. I'm sorry, Michel Gondry. This is the guy who made the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And he made a lot of, by the way, music videos. He was first music videos director, and he made a lot of stuff like this, like for example, I mean, a lot very well known videos like for Fatboy Slim, for there was this video Around the World that was his
by Daft Punk.
Yeah, Daft Punk.
Yeah,
that was his. So so he's going to do this movie, and it's asking for this kind of shit, like from Esteban Diacono. Like everything is changing. Like you don't know if this is a dream or some kind of projection or whatever. And so I would like to see this kind of stuff used in movies. Like, why you have to show somebody, let's say there is some weird stuff going on with physics and with I don't know, aliens are coming. So why I have to see another time somebody with his head cut off like a laser and slipping down? If I can see that it's changing to a jelly this way or whatever.
I'm thinking that's the reason why it's happening is this, like this eternal, tension between the industry standard and the innovation, experiment stuff. Because in cinema, especially, it's a it's cinematic industry right now. So it's if it's an industry, they are always aiming for repetition, sure income, and stuff like that.
They want
an experiment can go works pretty well, but it can also be a disaster, right? So so that's why they are not willing to quickly put money on something, invest in something that's not bringing in sure income. So, and that's natural, and that's I've heard the same like discussion from a concept car designer on one of the forums recently. He was complaining about lack of freedom in designing cars because car companies are so big and they are kind of like always moving like further down the line the same path, right? And rather do the same thing again with just slight innovation, and rather than like do things completely free and maybe so much better, but you never know until you try. So and they're not really to do revolutionary changes.
And but like I mean, it really it boils down also to what works for people. Like I said, like the other guy is making some funky like body 3D body stuff, like are also being commissioned already by big brands because they see that it works in certain places, right? Like so when they want to make an ad campaign for maybe YouTube, like they get these guys because it works for the for a certain age group maybe of their market, so it's not impossible. But like I guess if you're working for the in the industry as a professional, I mean it really isn't.
But on the other hand, there are the modern times provide stuff that weren't possible before, like the crowdfunding, for example, that makes possible big budget things that are not really that can be independent, right?
So, exactly. Like so I mean,
if you take a look at
something
the
crazy,
Kung Fury movie, right, for example, it was funded like by crowdfunding action, and it was kind of it was kind of on the edge, right? I wouldn't expect
but that's
full feature movie by a big studio of that kind, right? But
that's exactly it. Like it wasn't made like if you want that freedom, you can all like now is the best time. Like you can whatever it is your job demands of you on a professional level. I mean, it's your job to deliver on a professional level. But if you want to do something like totally out there, you could start like when else in history has anyone been able to just be like, yo, I'm gonna design a car like, I don't know, like shaped like a penis or something, and then and like who's with me, and then people just pledge, and then and then there like you get your crazy car, right? I mean it like you can do it. Like there's no need to feel disgruntled anymore, right? Like I mean, if your boss won't let you do it, you can do it yourself. Like you can find people all over the world who might agree with you. Make a Kickstarter,
And this is like the actually also this these things, which with Esteban the Econo style, it's the big numbers game. Like most of people won't really like this kind of stuff or similar, but since you had your base audience is billions of people, then even if little fraction of them will like it, there's still millions of them or hundreds of thousands who like them. So
Yeah,
it's like,
isn't that's kind of comforting, isn't it? Like if you think about it, like it's almost as if like you can't possibly make anything that at least 100 people or 1,000 people won't like if the whole world got to see it.
yeah,
Right?
I mean,
If you think about it that way, like you can do anything, and then probabilistically, whatever, like in probability wise, like if you did something in front of the entire world, like you somehow the entire world saw what you did, like you can find comfort in knowing that probably at least maybe 1,000 people, let's say, I'm not sure, but like like a large enough amount of people will still appreciate it.
yeah. So
It's kind of
in
an
our
interesting
times
way.
it's hard to be artist which is not understood because
Yeah,
you
if
can
you're
find
not
a
understood,
niche.
yeah, I mean, if you're not understood, then it means that you didn't upload it to YouTube or whatever.
yeah,
Because you didn't do the minimum work.
yeah,
But hopefully, Netflix is basically producing, these shows for one person basically. Maybe they will pick up this kind of stuff and make something
yeah,
like Stranger Things, something like that with this kind of stuff.
yeah. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But in terms of the big industry productions and the 3D world, I also found a cool video that was kind of like digging the latest Disney remakes of the realistic versions of classic Disney 2D animations that we were experiencing continuously last years. And the guy made the 3D kind of like creepy remake of The Lion King.
Yeah,
if you've watched, like, it was pretty long, so I couldn't really like watch it all through. But for
It's
me,
funny.
it was enough to just watch the basic opening, song, which was also like recorded with some detuned ukulele or something like of that kind. And for me, it was hilarious. But well, maybe I would have stopped then. Not just like going through the movie, but the guy was super patient to do the whole, like all the scenes. They were kind of like a little bit creepier, directed with some silly comments from the characters, or
a lot of crapping.
a lot of crappy animation, like, but it was kind of like a consistent style in there. Right?
and he managed to animate like 3D quadrupeds. That's not a that like he had to have hand animated that, like, 'cause you don't really have any, like it's not easy to find.
Yeah, it was kind of
right?
like it had that Beavis and Butthead
Yeah, but still, like he
vibe to it.
Yeah.
So, sort of, and I think I also tried to watch a bit of this realistic remake of the Lion King, and I'm not sure really which one nailed it more. In a way,
But this is
take
the
a look
only
at
Lion King I watched in my life, so
and that's this is the big coming out of this episode. Andrew haven't watched the Lion King.
well, I have.
From Disney.
Now I have.
No,
No, yeah, at
This
least
is
one-
story.
but we
at least
mean
one
the
version.
original.
Yeah.
We mean the
Now I
original 2D.
It's enough to pretend on a Christmas party or whatever that I know what people are talking about.
So you can see we should have done this, this kind of a reveal episode, we reveal our shameful shameful little secrets after hitting that many subscribers or watch. This is a common thing among
yeah.
online creators.
If we hit 10,000 subscribers, everyone will admit that he didn't see some important movie or in the movie's history, for example.
Yeah.
But guys, if you would like to watch this kind of stuff, more of that, I advertise you to go to the Adult Swim website
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
YouTube Adult Swim YouTube channel. And on the website there is something called Smalls, videos Smalls, so you can see a lot of this kind of small films, animated and some of them not animated, with some weird vibe and very, very amusing and interesting movies. And so also on YouTube channel, I think that was called Adult Swim Festival or something like that, when it looks like there were many entries from artists who just do some short works. And as far as I know, at least Eric Werheim and Tim Heidecker, who did the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, they started to cooperate with Adult Swim that way. They were found on some short movies festival with some very weird and funny animations. So yeah. It's a good. If you would like to check this kind of stuff, I advertise to check this.
And if you are
website.
sure about your creepy art ideas, that they are possible to bring you fortune in the future, as we said, crowdfunding or whatever you're funding it with, you can be sure that they can be rendered on Garage Farm.
Yeah.
we do not censor any kind of 3D
we've
work.
seen all.
Oh my god! If we could tell you just some of like what shows up on the farm from time to time. We don't look at like your frames are private, and the only time we know what your frames are is when an issue is reported or detected, and we have to come in and troubleshoot.
But not even time to watch all of these frames. So
but at least I can say I've seen my share of some pretty interesting stuff from all
pretty,
industries.
Yeah, although pretty might not be the word.
Yeah. No. I mean, but like it's you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what gets rendered.
And we would like to, we had just an hour of conversation about some strange, weird, creepy, edgy stuff of the outlaws of CG. But if you know, and I'm sure that you might know some really revelating pieces out there that we haven't really been able to find, just share with us in the comments. Like we will share all of our discoveries with you in the comments and in the description, so you can
let us know how you like
binge watching series. Of mind bending stuff.
Yeah, just don't eat too much dairy before watching.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
And I'm thinking that if you give us like a really nice inspiration in your link, that we might revisit that realm sometime soon. If we get enlightened by this new wave of CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess we can wrap up this episode right now.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Yeah, okay. So see ya. Enjoy the videos and take it easy. Happy exploring.